From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
I've been on the air 24 years, but I've never covered a grouping of stories that together signify the biggest change, not just to United States policy, but to the entire direction of the world. This constellation of developments has the political establishment, the corrupt globalists, shaking to their core. But the underlying theme here is extreme change for the better, but also with it extreme danger to our 45th president, Donald John Trump. Now, I'm going to cover some of the latest developments with the president, and then I'm going to hit the big story. And that, of course, is the private run-for-profit Federal Reserve established 104 years ago secretly at Jekyll Island, Georgia. Ladies and gentlemen, Trump has openly signaled that he's ready to fire the private head of the Federal Reserve and even reorganize it. Mainstream corporate media has said that he doesn't have the power to do it, but I have the Federal Reserve Act in front of me, and I'm going to read to you from it. But obviously, if he appoints the head of the Fed, he can remove the head of the Fed, and we, the people, can abolish this fraudulent organization. But remember, the last president that tried to abolish the Federal Reserve got riddled with bullets in Dallas, Texas, Dealey Plaza. So let's run through why the establishment's so scared. Trump ran on removing troops from our longest war, Afghanistan, and against the Syrian war. Now we've basically ended the conflict there that Obama helped start, and the troops are being pulled out. Both political parties are now against him, and the left have now become rabid pro-war zealots foaming at the mouth, the same people that used to show us death counts daily under the Bush era. Continuing, we have the bad trade deals being reversed. Millions of new jobs. The stock market had more than doubled until they sabotaged it. We've seen criminal justice reform, where Hillary Clinton helped get laws passed with Bill, tripling sentences for black people over white people, and saying blacks are super predators. They need to be brought to heel like dogs. Now that that's been signed and passed, the president's getting no credit for it. He truly is the liberator, ladies and gentlemen. Sovereignty's back. Territorial integrity is back. He pulled us out of unelected globalist trade deals that circumvented Congress, the presidency, and the people, like TPP. The list goes on and on. But now let's move to why Trump is for real and why he's in grave danger. President Trump is moving against the private Federal Reserve. Hasn't been audited in its 104 years, but when it was founded, it was confirmed that over 80% of it was basically European-owned. So a private banking consortium has hoodwinked the public and the world into believing that it's above the law and no one can audit it and no one can question what it does. Well, the other three branches of government are questionable and auditable, but it's not even a branch of government, like Federal Ammunition or Federal Express. It's private. And this is now all admitted and confirmed. 100 years ago it was known, but over time they brainwashed the public where the public didn't even understand this. Now, because we've exposed it, we can have a real debate about it. But first, let's go to a short minute clip of Alan Greenspan 10 years ago during the subprime crisis that the private banks had engineered to consolidate control and get trillions in bailouts to themselves, telling Lair NewsHour that Congress and the president and everyone else cannot even question or say anything, that the Federal Reserve is like God.
What is the proper relationship, what should be the proper relationship between a chairman of the Fed and a president of the United States?
Well, first of all, the Federal Reserve is an independent agency, and that means basically that there is no other agency of government which can overrule actions that we take. So long as that is in place and there is no evidence that the administration or the Congress or anybody else is requesting that we do things other than what we think is the appropriate thing, then what the relationships are don't frankly matter. And I've had very good relationships with presidents.
Now, I'm doing my best here to be calm. But did you just hear the giant con game, the giant Jedi mind trick that the former head of the Federal Reserve just put out there? That no one can question them, no one can investigate them, no one can look into them. They are completely above everything, not just above the law, but above investigation, above scrutiny. No one is above the law. Now, let's look at the facts, because CNN, MSNBC are saying Trump isn't allowed to even talk about firing the head of the private Federal Reserve. But he is. It's in the Federal Reserve Act that I'll read to you in a moment. But first, Trump was right during the campaign. And he was right again just a few months ago in the second campaign in the midterms. He said, if you want to plunge the stock market, if you want the regulations back, if you want to kill the recovery, elect the Democrats, because that will signal that they're going to be able to overturn this revolution. But he went on to say the Federal Reserve better not raise interest rates anymore. They've already raised it 7 times. Never did that under Obama. He said if they do that, it'll tank our economy. The Federal Reserve is part of the OECD and the XM Bank, big international consortiums that basically rig interest rates around the world and other things. It's a monopoly over currency, just like OPEC's monopoly over oil and other petrochemicals and derivatives. And OPEC has also, at many levels, been working with the same private Federal Reserve multinational consortium. And these groups have agreed to let China have 10% growth rates forever, and it gets worse, 0% interest rates. So just remember why Trump is so angry. We get higher interest rates, China gets 0. All of this is to make China the place to invest. So here's this group that thinks it's above the law, dictating to you what they're going to do. They've not been audited or investigated in over 104 years. Here's an article out of Forbes. How Trump could fire Powell and rebuild the Fed. And then it says right here from the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, thereafter each member shall hold office for a term of 14 years from the expiration of the term of his predecessor unless sooner removed by cause for the president. So read that again. Unless sooner removed for cause by the president. And the president decides with his executive power the cause. Back when Obama was president, the left loved all the powers of the presidency. But now that Trump's in there, they claim that he can't even trim his toenails without permission from the bureaucracy. They're saying, it's some reckless move to pull out of Syria and to pull out of Afghanistan when he ran on that. The truth is, you have a political consortium that follows a global plan, and presidents have just become ceremonial, and now Trump is no longer being ceremonial. He is being the president. And whether you agree with him or disagree with him, this is how the Constitution works. This is how this country is supposed to operate. And that's why the people that have stolen and usurped our country's destiny are so unhappy, because Trump is wresting the wheel of state away from them. These are the facts. Now, David Knight's hosting live today, so I'll take you back live to David Knight in studio, hosting the Sunday show, 4 to 6 p.m. every Sunday. And then David comes back, of course, with his own program, 8 a.m. Central every single weekday morning. And I host 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. weekdays in the War Room. Of course, Owen Schroyer, 3 o'clock Central every day after that, every weekday. And again, I host normally the Sunday show 4 to 6, but today David's doing a great job. So back to David Knight and our president, Donald Trump, taking the gloves off, getting rid of all the dead wood, and actually taking command of the helm of the ship of state. What an incredible time to be alive. We're all witnessing history together.
All right, that's Alex Jones, and I'm David Knight, and we're going to be talking more about what's going on with the Federal